This is not an easy video for me to do. I've decided to do a response video on Share Your Mess from I Walk for TNT. I don't know if I'm going to attach to her video or Dizzy Lizzie Best, but it'll be in there somewhere. Your mess is your message. So I can honestly say that at this point in my life, the biggest messes I have are bills, which isn't too bad. You know, I used to stress, not like household bills, like medical bills, you know, stuff like that you just can't pay off and, you know, be done with them. Basically, we just can't seem to get them paid off. And to be honest with you, I don't even stress over it anymore, because money is, somebody's always going to want money for something, and you can only do what you can do. So I don't stress over it. But I can say that that's the only mess that I really have, which really isn't a mess to me in my life at this point, which is good. But I have had my messes in life. I've had some pretty big messes in life. Well, one mess that my life started out as a mess, to be honest with you. My mom got pregnant with me when she was 19, almost 20. I think she might have got pregnant with me like a couple months before she turned 20, or I don't remember, but it was something like that. My dad was I guess my mom and dad were in love. Well, I know my mom was in love, but my dad was not the best choice. He was a rebellious young man. He was a high school dropout who my mom later found out did not want to work, couldn't keep a job, was an alcoholic. Mom doesn't talk about it too much, but I know that he was abusive, and she had to pretty much rely on family and work, and her working 2 jobs to make ends meet. But I was born into that mess, and I was premature. I was 3 months early in 1985, and I didn't have a whole lot of chance of survival. But I did. I survived. I was in the hospital for 3 months. Then I came home, and I was on about 5 different kind of machines. When I was in the hospital, I was in an incubator. My parents couldn't hold me for a long time. They had to put their hands through little gloves to be able to touch me. So yeah, of course I don't remember that, but like I said, I was born into a mess. When I was about a month before I turned 3, my mom had my little brother, and their marriage never got better. It only got worse. So when I was 4, my mom left my dad and moved. We lived in St. Louis and moved back to Arkansas, where her family lived. Then she found out 3 months later that she was pregnant again with my youngest brother. So basically my life was being raised by a single mother, working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. My dad never paid child support. They couldn't track him down. He would work a job for cash so he didn't get his wages garnished, or as soon as they found him, he would quit the job that he was getting taxes held out on, because he knew that my mom would get his income tax check, which she did a few times, but it wasn't very much money. So I only saw my dad one time when I was 7 years old, and that was a mess in itself. And then I haven't seen him since. I don't even remember what my father looks like. This wasn't just wham bam, thank you ma'am, oh she got knocked up by some guy and he never wanted to have anything to do with her or the baby. My parents were married. They were high school sweethearts. They had 3 children together, and he just left his family. And I know my mom left him, but it was, I say he left his family because he chose his lifestyle over his family, and apparently still does, because I haven't heard hide or hair of him since I was 7 years old. No birthday cards, no phone calls, nothing. So I was born into that mess. My mom worked hard. We didn't have everything, but we had what we needed, and we were happy. And I'm sure my life would have been a lot worse if my father were in it than the fact that he wasn't the kind of person that he was, and I'm guessing still is. The second mess that I could really call a mess that I've been in my life was whenever I was 15 years old. My aunt, my mother's sister, her husband started sexually abusing me. I just turned 15, and I was pretty. I was developed at an early age, and for a long time I blamed it on myself because of the way I looked. But you know, when I started realizing that I'm not the sicko he is, then you know, I quit blaming myself. It wasn't my fault it happened. It's not like I asked for it to happen. That situation continued for months. He would get me alone in a room or something like that, and he told me that if I told anybody he was going to kill my whole family, and I believed him, so I didn't tell anybody. Later on, a friend of my mother's, who was also a friend of his, no, it was his cousin, I think. My mom wasn't really friends with the guy, but she knew him when she waited tables. He came into a restaurant, so she was acquainted with him. Apparently, my abuser was bragging about it to his cousin, and his cousin didn't find it so funny. So he told my mom, and she confronted me about it, and I broke down. I was a miserable wreck for a long time. I had a boyfriend, my first high school boyfriend at the time. I wasn't sexually active, and I had to tell him because I felt guilty, even though I shouldn't have felt guilty. When you're in a situation with a sexual predator, molester, whatever you want to call them, they make you feel emotions that you shouldn't feel. They make you feel like you're the bad one. And of course that's how I felt for a long time. I was young. I was, you know, blaming myself. The saddest part about this story is the fact that he had been molesting my cousin, who was 9 at the time, since she was 3 years old when him and my aunt got married. And I told my aunt that if it wasn't me, it would be her. And the only reason that I was happy about what he did to me was because I knew that if he was doing it to me, maybe he wasn't doing it to her. He never told me he was doing it to her, but I just knew, you know? I knew if he came after me, what would stop him from coming after her, or for already going after her, which he had. And my aunt didn't believe me. She told me I was a liar. I was jealous that she'd been married to him for, I don't know, 7 years. I don't know, yeah, 7 years. That he would never do that to her. You know, she made it about her. And we didn't speak for 2 years. She didn't have anything to do with us. And 2 years later, she came to my mom and told my mom that my cousin had told her what he had been doing to her. So she left him. But it took 2 years. It took that long for her to get it. And she doesn't speak of it now. It's completely forgotten, like it never happened. She never apologized to me either. I don't have a good relationship with her. But that was the hardest mess. It took me a long time to deal with that. And I'm going to stop right here because I'm not sure how much time I've